Hey, what's going on? It's John, and it's time for the JMART CAST for Monday, April 11th. What's going on? How are ya? Friends and family, thank you for joining me on another episode of the JMART CAST. I'm so glad you're here. Before we get any further, could you please take a second and give the podcast a rating? And also, do you know anyone who might be interested in listening to an episode of the JMART CAST? Please take a moment and hit that share button and send it off to your friend that might be interested in listening. Anyways, so how was your week? Let me see. How was mine? What did I do last week? Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I went to Miami for the Bitcoin conference. Yeah, it was awesome. Had a great time. So my flight was on Wednesday at 6 from Pearson. And I arrived at Miami International at 10 in the evening. And I was supposed to take a bus basically to the hostel that I was staying at. At first, I had to find the bus stop, which you had to take actually a train to get to. But it was like a internal airport train that I was able to find, which took me to the bus station. And then the bus was supposed to come every 20 minutes, but something was off because it didn't come for a whole hour. I think it was the last one of the day that eventually arrived. And I think it was 11:30 or 11:40, that last bus to the hostel, which luckily wasn't too far away. It only took another 25 minutes to get there. So I got to my hostel bed because I rented a bed in like what I thought was going to be a 6-bed dorm room, but ended up being an 8-bed dorm room. I was renting that bed, and I got to it at like, I think 1 a.m., 1 in the morning. I was pretty exhausted, so just fell asleep. But it was kind of hard to fall asleep because the room that I was in, like I said, it had 4 bunk beds. But unfortunately, all the bottom mattresses had been taken by other people, so I had to pick a top one. And so I climb up to the top of one of these, and of course it's just creaking like every little movement that I make. So I'm just like, oh man, I was so tired though. I was too lazy to go try out another one to see if they're less creaky. So I just stuck with that one. Just eventually was able to stay still enough to fall asleep. Next day, I decided, because the conference wasn't starting till 10, I would take the morning to go to Muscle Beach because I was only like 1.5 kilometers away from Muscle Beach. It was unfortunately in the opposite direction away from the where the conference was going to be, which was at the convention center, but I was like, whatever. It was like basically another 1.5 kilometers to the convention center in one direction, or 1.5 kilometers to the Muscle Beach in the opposite direction. Also, all in all, it wouldn't be that much to go to Muscle Beach and then come back and pass my hotel and back to the convention center. So that's what I did. I had a nice little workout, push and pull, nice and easy 3 sets of 10 pull-ups and dips, and then went and started day 1 of the conference. Let's see, what were the main talks that really I remember from day 1? The first one was a panel with Francis Ngannou, I think he's from Cameroon, and he's the heavyweight UFC champion of the world. And he was talking about how Bitcoin's been helping commerce in Africa. And it's interesting, I didn't know this, but apparently there's 12 countries in Africa that 12 or 14, I can't remember. They're like all tied to France and a French central bank. So all these countries, 12 or 14, I don't know, they don't have their own currency. Their currency is based on the French currency, which is controlled by the French central bank. And furthermore, the currencies that each of these regions have are different from one another, making it difficult for these regions to do commerce with one another without having to like include the French central bank as an intermediary, basically. So it makes it really difficult, basically, for any sort of commerce to happen across borders between these places. And Francis Ngannou was explaining how, Bitcoin was really helping them skip over all these third parties and let people do peer-to-peer transactions in that part of the world, especially Cameroon, where he's from, and Nigeria was another great epicenter for this. So that was interesting. Then another part of that same talk was talking about podcasting and this idea of how there's new podcasting apps. They're called Podcasting 2.0 apps that let people listen to podcasts in a way where they can also stream Bitcoins or Satoshis, right? Satoshis are the small subunits of Bitcoin. Stream Satoshis per minutes played for a podcast. So that's really interesting. I think it's kind of a revolutionary thing for people to be able to, put out content and then have the listeners pay in small amounts that they can stream per minute or second or whatever frequency they choose of how much they consume the content. So I'm going to look a little further into that and see what I can find out about how to upload my content on these Podcasting 2.0 applications. What else was there? Then there was an announcement by the CEO of this company called Strike. This guy's name is Jack Mallers, and it's a little hard to explain his announcement, but basically what he was trying to say is that his company is using this network called the Lightning Network, which is basically a second layer solution over Bitcoin. It's hard to explain what that really means, but essentially what he was able to show was that he can use the Lightning Network to help people make transactions or payments for regular items that they'd want to purchase at a bunch of the main stores that you would find in America. He had listed off a whole bunch of them. I don't remember what they were, but let's look it up real quick. Okay, here I had it. There's basically a whole bunch of the big box stores. It's got McDonald's, Walmart, Macy's, Bed Bath & Beyond, Montana's Grill, Starbucks, blah, 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 all this, Staples, Lowe's, Home Depot. It's even got Tim Hortons there, Chipotle. So all these stores are apparently going to be able to accept Lightning payments. They're going to have to, I think, change the terminal to be able to scan and receive QR codes. But anyway, he did a demonstration and it seemed to work. So we'll see what it leads to. So that was day one. And then during day one, I also walked around a little bit and they have a hall with a bunch of booths and checked that out a little bit. They had a mechanical bull that you could ride on, and the person who rode the longest would win 1 Bitcoin. I didn't try because there's no way I was going to be able to last very long. And the person who already had the longest time was above a minute. And I was like, there's no way I'm lasting more than a minute. So didn't bother, but did walk around and saw a bunch of people known in the Bitcoin universe, some of the authors and some of the other people who were content producers. And also just met some regular people too. I met these 2 nice Assyrian dudes from Iraq. They were great. They were super nice and friendly. One of them was from actually here near Toronto, Woodbridge, I think he said. We waited in line with them to take a picture with this Lebanese Bitcoin author named Saifedean Ammous. He's the author of 2 books. One's called The Bitcoin Standard and the other one's called The Fiat Standard. And so since the author's Lebanese and Arabic, these guys are Assyrian and they're also Arabic as well. So they wanted to say hello to the Saifedean Ammous, that author, in their common language. And so it was nice to see them greet him that way, that author that way, and have that moment together. I took a picture of them and everything. Also met a nice Canadian dude from Oshawa. He was super nice. Him and I went to a bunch of the talks and sat through them together. At the end of the night, I met up with him and his wife for a couple of drinks. They we're in Miami together, but only he was going to the conference. His wife just came for fun to kind of hang out in Miami, but she's not really interested in Bitcoin. But she was glad to see that besides her husband, there's other people who are normalish who are interested in Bitcoin as well. But so yeah, we went out for a couple of drinks, went to a couple of different places. The first place we stopped at was kind of more of like a dive bar-ish kind of place. And we sat at the bar and ordered a couple beers. And it's funny, what happened was the bartender brought me the beer. And at first I wanted to pay with card, but it was a cash bar only. So then the guy said cash only and then left. And I got the cash ready, but he never came back to collect it. So I just sat there with my cash in my hand. And then we were kind of ready to go. And so there was a new bartender, and I told her, "Can I pay for this?" pointing at the bottle. But I guess she didn't hear me, and by me pointing at the bottle, understood that I wanted another one. So she came back and opened another one for me. And I was like, no, I wanted to pay for this one because I never paid. And she's like, "Oh, okay." So the beer was kind of wasted, but she didn't charge me for it. And then she took the money and came back, and she just gave me the exact same amount of money back, thinking that I'd paid. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to leave a big tip and just take the rest of the money and go. Not even going to try to fix this anymore. And then we went to a second place that was kind of a nice rooftop bar, and they were playing some good lively music, but it was a little bit loud. And then the dude from Oshawa wasn't having that much of a fun because I guess the music was a bit loud and it wasn't to his taste. So we had another drink there, and they were kind of wanted to do their own thing, husband and wife. So I was like, that's absolutely cool. You guys go have fun. I'm kind of tired. I wanted to call it a night anyway. So I just went home, and that was the end of day one, or day two, I guess. Day one of the conference and day two of me being in Miami. And then the next day, day two of the conference, I had the same start to the day, got up early, went to Muscle Beach, got another workout in, this time legs mostly, and went back to the convention center. Let's see, on Friday, some of the main things I did was I went to the Foundation Devices booth. So Foundation Devices is the company that actually gave me my free ticket to go to the Bitcoin conference. So I just wanted to go to their booth and just say thank you for, the ticket, and that I was having a good time. And I also wanted to just learn a little bit about the company and kind of what products they have. And it turns out they're actually a pretty sick company, and they have a very good hardware wallet solution that is Bitcoin only. And that's definitely something down the road as I update my, storage system, I guess, for Bitcoin. I'm going to consider getting a hardware wallet from that company because it was like high quality, well made, good security elements. That's all I can say about it. So get yourself a Foundation Device hardware wallet. I think they're called Passport. Yeah, just looked it up. It's called Passport. They're $200 if you pre-order it. I think after the pre-order, it's going to be $220. Let's see what else. I was walking to a stage that was a little bit farther away from the main one. It was for a talk about storage of Bitcoin and hardware devices. It was a really good talk. Actually helped me think about how to progress and develop my thinking and understanding of how to store Bitcoin, and how to go about it as time progresses and as things change. Right, as when you first start off, maybe you just put only a tiny little bit of money into Bitcoin, and you don't have to have as much of a thought put into how to store things safely. But as time goes on and you accumulate more and more, or if the price appreciates significantly, then you might get a little bit nervous about holding a large sum in something that's not well secured. So it might be time to update the thinking and the hardware solutions and everything. But so that was a really good talk, and one of the main takeaways from this whole weekend in thinking of Bitcoin is to just upgrade my storage systems. as necessary as time progresses. But the cool thing leading up to that, as I was walking to that stage to see the talk, on the way there, I ran into Zuby. So Zuby's this artist, musician, and I'd actually ran into him earlier the day before, and he seemed like he was in a real hurry, but he was super nice and like agreed to take a picture with me real quick. And then the next day I ran into him again as we were both walking in the same direction. As I was walking to that stage, he wasn't walking to the stage, but in something else in the same direction. And so I noticed him, he noticed me, and he recognized me again. So I just said hello, and we walked together for a little while, and we were talking, and he didn't seem like too creeped out to just talk to me for the short while that we were walking together. So he was just a super nice guy. And you know, it's nice to meet people like that who you've like, maybe you've listened to their music or whatever. You feel like you know them a little bit, and then they don't end up being a jerk. They actually end up being a nice dude. So great to have that experience. Let's see. And then the other major talk that I saw on Friday was a talk with Jordan Peterson. It wasn't really a talk. He was like interviewed by somebody, and it was actually a good interview, I would say. The person started off by asking Jordan Peterson about entrepreneurship, and it was really interesting, a good way to start the talk. He talked about the ethical nature of entrepreneurship because of all the difficulties involved with running a business. You know, it's not easy to run a profitable business, right? You have to get a lot of things right. You have to obviously not only come up with a solution to a problem that people need, but also be able to market it real well, but also then run an efficient business so you're not wasting resources. All these things together, he's made a very compelling argument for like the ethical nature of being a capitalist that runs a profitable business. That was good. Then he was asked about his journey into Bitcoin, and he had talked about how one of the things that drew him towards Bitcoin was the mythical nature of its origin story. I don't know if you guys know about it, but the person who is said to have created Bitcoin is named Satoshi Nakamoto, but that is a pseudonymous identity that isn't real. Like, we don't actually know who the true person behind that pseudonym is. It could be one person or multiple people. It could be a man or a woman or a group of people. So we don't know. And then we also know that the person has disappeared and has not been in contact with anybody for many years now. And all the Bitcoin that he has mined has remained in a, I guess, wallet that everyone can see and has not been touched or moved in any way. So that's an interesting thing too. Yeah. Anyways, so I guess as a person who is interested by myth and religion and like, I guess, large, grandiose things like that, he was drawn to that aspect of Bitcoin. Then he was also drawn to the aspect of it that is about the separation of money from state, right? As someone who has, I guess, studied the tyrannical nature of the state and what it can do when given too much power, he is drawn to the idea that we can weaken the state, or at least maybe not weaken it, but control it better by removing some of these powers, such as control of money. But he overall had a very cautious, I guess, perspective, because he wanted to say that, like, we don't know what all the second and third order effects of adopting a Bitcoin standard might be, right? We can't just simply assume that everything is going to be positive. Like, he made the argument that it's juvenile to think that, because there's just no such thing, right? There's always trade-offs in everything. So we just have to be aware of that and not, go forth blindly without caution, which is a fair point, I think. So then after that talk, I went back to my hostel and took a little rest and went to sleep. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention is when I went to the Foundation Devices booth, there's another guy there who I met from Virginia. Ended up talking to him for a little bit. We exchanged numbers, and we turned out that we were both going to go to the same event after the the day two, I guess, talks were over. So we decided they would meet up and go together, but I ended up oversleeping past the time we decided we were going to meet up. So I ended up going by myself. But luckily, when I got there, I met the two dudes, the two Assyrian guys I had met the day previous and just hung out with them. And then the Virginia dude ended up coming by later and hung out with him as well. But so this event was actually a live recording of the What Is Money show, hosted by Robert Breedlove, and his special guest for that was Jordan Peterson again. So I got to see two Jordan Peterson talks in one day, I guess. So lucky me or whatever. It was interesting. The second talk was a little bit more wide-ranging. They talked a little bit about Austrian economics, and they also talked about morality and how it develops in children through playing games, and how I think they kind of made a connection to Bitcoin and like some of the game theoretic dynamics of Bitcoin, and how there's some inherent, I guess, morality built into it due to the aligned incentives of all the participants of the network. So that was interesting. After the talk, I was hoping I'd get a chance to like meet Dr. Peterson and just say hello and tell him a little story, but unfortunately he didn't stay. He left right away, so didn't get a chance to do that. Did hang out and have a couple more drinks with the dudes from Iraq. And then afterwards, we were actually all hungry, so we decided to go to a Moxie's together and grab some steaks. These guys were pretty funny. They're like ready to devour as much food as possible. They wanted to order a large, like 16-ounce ribeye each. Luckily, they were out of ribeyes at the restaurant, so we just got strip loins, which were half the size. And I barely finished that, so definitely did not need twice that amount. And they were super gracious and like totally treated me and didn't let me pay for anything. The nicest guys ever. Actually, another nice thing they did was the Uber driver who took us from the venue to the restaurant. They were trying to orange pill him and convince him that Bitcoin's the future, and they gave him $100 tip to go buy Bitcoin. These guys were awesome. So glad I got to meet them and hang out with them. Definitely going to keep in touch. Anyways, so that was the end of day 2 of the conference. Day 3 of me being in Miami by myself, away from my wife and children, whom I'm always calling and checking on, by the way. And it turned out that I left at a good time because my son got, a stomach flu or something, because he was puking and having diarrhea at the same time. My wife told me all about it. Luckily, he's all better now and no worse for the wear. So that's good. And then the third day of the conference was the Sound Money Music Festival, which ended up being pretty good. So before the festival, I did my usual, went to Muscle Beach again. And then I was planning on just working out a little bit and then going to the beach for a little bit and then leaving. But I ended up coming across some Bitcoiners, and they were super nice dudes. We ended up talking and hanging out, and I stayed at the beach till like 3 p.m. all day long, basically, with like no sunscreen on whatsoever. And I like totally burnt myself to a crisp from just like that one day. So mad at myself, but oh well. But they're super nice guys from Texas, actually, and made a nice connection with them. Hopefully one day soon I'll be going to Texas and meet up with those guys and meet other Bitcoiners from the region. But anyways, hung out with those dudes till around 3 in the afternoon, then went back to my place for a little power nap, and then to the convention center for the music festival. So when I got there, it was the main stage had Toki Monster playing. She was pretty good, actually. I enjoyed the music she was playing, but it only lasted like 10 minutes. She finished off her set, so nobody else was coming on for a while, so I decided to leave and go to the secondary stage. So they actually had 2 stages, which is pretty cool. And at the second stage, it was Steve Aoki going. And then just as I got there, Steve Aoki was about to start throwing cakes at people, so I got there at the perfect time. And he had 10 cakes that he like threw at people. So that was amazing. Then after the Steve Aoki cakes were done, I went back to the main stage, and it was San Holo playing. And San Holo I don't know that well, but they have this one song that I really dig. It's called B Song. Look it up. It's actually a really dope song. B Song by San Holo. And he was actually really good. I enjoyed the set he played for the most part. He had a really good setup where he was playing his guitar, but he also had like a booth set up with a whole bunch of like this DJ equipment. I can't really describe it very well, but it was cool. He was going back and forth between using that and playing the guitar and looping things. So it was really nice. But it's just I wanted more happy music, and he was just like, "I'm sorry, guys, I'm gonna play something sad." He kept saying that. He's like, "You guys are good, right? You're having fun. Sorry." Then after he was done, it was Killer Mike and Big Boy. And those two are basically part of Outkast without Andre 3000. They're pretty good. I actually liked a bunch of their songs that they played. It was a bunch of like Outkast songs. They played like I'm Sorry, Miss Jackson. Anyways, it was good. I enjoyed it. A little bit like super angry at times. I would like leave when it got a little bit too angry, because I guess they're rappers, so there's a lot of rapping and angry rapping, but they would bring it back with like Miss Jackson. So, and then after they were done, it was finally Deadmau5, and I was really looking forward to that. That was like the thing that I was most looking forward to. It was so jacked to see Deadmau5 at the Bitcoin conference. I thought it was going to be amazing, and probably built it up too much in my mind. So I don't know, like it was actually mostly a good show. Like he came on at 8 and finished at like 10:15. So, just over 2 hour long set, which is good. I feel like that was good. But unfortunately, like the last third of the set, maybe like 45 minutes was just like, didn't feel good. Deadmau5 didn't play like any good songs, didn't have like a good bass, didn't have a good beat, like wasn't able to get the crowd going where like everyone was dancing. I don't know. The first half was good. I really enjoyed it. He like made the crowd kind of get going at first and played a lot of like the songs he's known for, like Ghost and stuff and everything. But I don't know, it just lost steam partway through, and he was never able to gain it back. So I was a little disappointed, but whatever. The rest of it was good, and overall I had a great time. It was like, I guess about 10:30ish by the time I was able to leave and got back to my room early enough to get a decent amount of rest. And then the next day I got up with enough time to be able to get all my things organized, ready, took a good shower, got all cleaned up, and went to the airport with plenty of time. What I thought was plenty of time, actually, but ended up being just enough time so that I had like 30 minutes before boarding that I could go and get a little bit of food. So luckily I had that buffer time to, make sure I didn't miss my flight. So that's the story of my trip to Miami for Bitcoin Conference 2022. Overall, had a great time, met a lot of cool people, regular people, some somewhat famous people. Highlight was meeting Zuby, who was a super nice guy. Even though he seemed like he was busy, he still made time to kind of take a picture with me and talk to me. I also got lucky with the weather the whole time. It was basically sunny. Didn't have to deal with any rain or anything. That was nice. And yeah, glad to be home now, back to my family. While it was nice to be away from them for a few days, it's even nicer now to be back. So grateful for that. Grateful for the opportunity to have gone to begin with. But now it's time to be back to my normal life with my family. So with that, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my story of what I did in Miami. If you have any questions about the city, on, what to do, how to get around, feel free to reach out and message me through social media. I'm at jmartfit on Instagram and Twitter. You can also email me, newsletter@jmartfit.com. Don't forget, could you please rate the podcast and share an episode with a friend who might be interested in listening? I'd appreciate it if you do that. And with that, stay active, be grateful. J-Mart out.